All right, today we're going to get inside the head of a trader, a guy who truly believed he had cracked the code, that he could actually see the hidden architecture of the market. This is the story of his incredible genius, his catastrophic 17-minute collapse, and, well, what he managed to build from the ashes.
And it all kicks off with this statement of just pure, absolute confidence. I am the move. I mean, think about that for a second. That's the kind of self-belief where you don't just see patterns to be conquered, you are the pattern. And for this trader, a guy named Maya, this wasn't some kind of mantra. No, this was his reality. So who exactly was this guy? Well, he wasn't just some day trader looking at charts. He was convinced he was reading the market's actual mind. So this first part, this is all about the absolute peak of that power. Okay, so here's the source of his genius. He called it the fractal vision. You know, where most of us see just total chaos in the market, he saw these hidden, beautiful mathematical patterns. We're talking about things like Fibonacci spirals. You know, those patterns you see in seashells and galaxies. He was seeing them in stock prices. It's like he was seeing the underlying geometric blueprint connecting every single move. And wow, this quote just perfectly sums up his mindset, doesn't it? The market makers are trapped. In his mind, everybody else was just playing checkers, you know, a flat, simple game. But he was playing 3D chess in this whole other fractal universe. He wasn't just in the market anymore. He thought he was the market. But you know, even the most perfect, beautiful patterns can get absolutely shattered by cold, hard reality. And now we get to the moment it all started to crack. It happened just like that, in a single moment. 3:47 p.m. Suddenly this one ugly, jagged red line just slices right through all those elegant curves and spirals he saw. Just like that, the perfection was gone, broken.
And that's when the bleeding starts. First, this number. Okay, not great. It definitely stings, but it's manageable. It's not going to wipe you out. It's the first hint, the first little whisper that the math he put all his faith in might be betraying him.
Then, the fall gets faster. Way faster. This isn't a glitch anymore. This is a full-on cascade. The numbers are dropping so fast he can barely process them. You can just imagine his hands starting to shake. This can't be right. No. The pattern, it has to correct itself. It just has to.
And then, boom, over 300,000, just gone. Now, any sane trader, right? You'd cut your losses, you'd get out. But Maya, he's not rational anymore. He's become a true believer, a zealot. He starts doubling down, absolutely convinced that he's right and the entire market is wrong.
And listen to this. This is where his greatest strength, that unwavering faith in the pattern, becomes his fatal flaw. He thinks this is a liquidity hunt. You know, a trap designed to scare off the little guys. But he thinks it's a trap for them, not for him. The tragic irony, of course, is that he's the one caught in the trap. So this is the real battle, right here. It's what's fracturing his mind. On one side, you have his vision, this beautiful, perfect theory he has literally built his entire life around. And on the other side, you've got the brutal, cascading red numbers on the screen. The theory versus the reality. Which one is real?
Yeah, that internal battle. It just couldn't last. What happened next was a total system failure. But it wasn't the market that failed. It was the man.
First, the mind breaks, and then the body just follows. Everything just goes black. He literally slides out of his chair and collapses onto the floor. This is what it's like at rock bottom. Imagine that moment. The vision, the beautiful grid, it's all gone. The genius he thought he was, gone. The only thing that's left is the feeling of the cold floor under him and this just burning, crushing shame of total and complete failure.
But here's the thing. He wasn't totally alone. There were two silent observers watching this whole thing unfold. First, his cat, Atlas. You know, a creature of pure instinct. Maybe the cat knew all along he wasn't a genius. And then there's this other figure, the well watcher, this sort of shadowy presence who saw a different kind of pattern. Not in the market, but in the tragedy of Maya's own hubris.
And when he finally comes to, this is the final damage. The total tally, 436,000 rupees. That's the price he paid for his pride.
And just look at how fast it all went down. 94% of his capital gone in just 17 minutes. I mean, think about that. It probably took him years to build that vision, that confidence, and it took reality just 17 minutes to burn it all to the ground.
But, you know, lying there on the floor, that's where something new actually started. This wasn't about going back to how things were. This was about forging something stronger from the wreckage. He had to rebuild himself basically from scratch.
And this right here is the big epiphany. This is maybe the most important moment in the whole story. The blame finally shifts. He realizes the pattern didn't break. He broke. It wasn't the market's fault. It wasn't some flaw in the math. The flaw was in him. The human algorithm, that's what had failed.
So once he had that clarity, a plan started to form. Step 1, acknowledge that he was the one who failed. But that wasn't enough. Step 2, the decision. He knew he had to build something to protect himself from himself. It was time to build a circuit breaker. And that led to step 3, actually executing that plan.
So, what is this circuit breaker he built? Well, it's not just some simple panic button. It's a real algorithmic failsafe. It's a system designed to literally override him and enforce discipline when his brilliant vision starts to get the better of his common sense. It's a bridge between that mathematical beauty he sees and the psychological restraint he so desperately needed.
So eventually, he goes back to his desk, and the vision, the golden fractal grid, it returns. But this time, it's different. He can still see the patterns, oh yeah, but now he can also see the potential for delusion. He can see the trap. His genius didn't disappear, but now it was controlled, it was disciplined, it was tempered by the memory of that 17-minute fall.
And when you really think about it, Maya's story isn't just about trading stocks, is it? He built a system, an algorithm, to protect himself from his own worst instincts, his own blind spots. And that kind of forces us all to ask ourselves a pretty tough question. In our own lives, when our passion or our ego starts to override our logic, what systems do we have to stop ourselves from collapsing? What is your circuit breaker?